Hello, everybody. Been MIA for a lot of reasons, but mostly just been kind of busy. Thoughts today have been something that's been on my brain for probably better part of a month. In chatting with somebody that I'm working with on business development and all those kind of things, and thinking about agronomics and pricing of both products as well as commodities. And we're coming into harvest. Around this part of the world, edible bean harvest has been rolling for 5 to 7 days, give or take, on planting and all that kind of stuff. And we're coming in, it's September 1st. We're coming into the quintessential prime time selling season, as they call it. And no different than me with my seed stuff. October 1 is the hard go early process. And for the next growing season, of course, we're planning ahead. We talked this morning on a group call, a few other people, about timing and that kind of stuff. And we got into that, agriculture is seasons based, seasons oriented. Planting season, and then, in our part of the world, we're irrigating season and the growing season, and then harvest season, and then planting season. And, trying to be different and create different mindsets. And for my own business, thinking 2 and 3 years out, 5 and 10 years out, but definitely more than just 6 months out. And, in a grower situation, we need to be planning 2 and 3 years out on some of this kind of stuff, on all of this kind of stuff. Actually, if you break it down, it's really all of it. You need to have, depending, unless you've only been farming for 1 year, you're probably in a crop rotation, which you have planned out based on what you've got going on. Obviously, maybe some of that can change a little bit depending on if you rent ground and you lose it, or you pick up more rented ground. But either way, you're still going to get into some type of planning process. And then also, the mindset change, and this is something I've posted about on Snapchat a couple of different times. I want to talk to my growers about it during harvest and then after harvest. We all know seed, it's that cutthroat business, and it doesn't need to be. It needs to come down to what's producing and what's yielding and what works for your farm. If service is important to you, that needs to be accounted for and considered. Price per bushel produced instead of price per acre is something, I've done the math on it. I don't have that math with me, but just to use seed as a prime example, obviously, since it's the number one thing, I feel like it's the number one thing. Even when I wasn't selling seed, I still felt like that was the number one thing that you got beat up over. $200 for a bag of seed versus $300 for a bag of seed. And we know that full-blown retail, before any discounts of volume, early cash, all those kind of things, we've got seed placed over $300 and $350 a bag. But and I'm with you, growers, and let's just start it at $275, and you don't have to worry about so much out of pocket discounts that these companies have to argue or have to have. But that's not the world we're living in. So, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I doubt I will ever see that in my lifetime. We know that things are just going to continue to ratchet up, particularly with the genetics and the trading and all those kind of things that come into play. So, price per bushel and price per bushel produced. So I did the math, and I used 125 acre field, 32,000 population. I know we have above and we have below that, but I just, for simplicity reasons, $3 corn, and I don't know what current commodity prices are, particularly around corn, and obviously everybody's basis is different, but just bear with me. $3 corn, 125 acres, a typical, in this part of the world, a typical circle, irrigated field, and 32,000 population. The difference between $200 bag $200 per bag seed and $300 per bag seed comes down to $40 an acre, 12 bushel. Now, that's why, like, $40 an acre, you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot. That's 200 to 300. And I know there's some cheaper. Most everybody, I hope you're paying 300 or less with things. But what's the service that comes with it? What is that seed person doing for you, with you? Is that midnight deliveries? Are they scouting things? Are they checking things? Or are they just selling you a bag of seed and walking away and not calling you until the following fall again, to place an order with them? So, that's only 12 bushel. When I did that math, I'm like, that's insane. There's some of these companies and some of these hybrids that are blowing that stuff out of the water by 10, 20, 30 bushels an acre. And why are we getting so bent out of shape over 12 bushels that's going to cost you to do that? Like, is there other places that we can make up that difference and still produce the insane amount of bushels that we're creating and pulling off of some of these fields? So, and I could go into a whole 20-minute spiel on that on alone, but that's my challenge for growers, customers, and non-customers is, are you looking at bushels produced, no matter what the product is? Seed is obviously, like I said, we're coming into seed selling, hardcore pushing, but this is fertility, this is water, this is the equipment and the technology that you're using or not using on equipment. What is it creating for bushels? I challenge you to sit down with each of these things, and what kind of bushels do you need to pay for it, or what is it costing you? What is it bringing back to the table? Obviously, we need absolute bare minimum needs to be break even. But if something's only creating 1 or 2 extra bushels, but you're spending, it's a stress or it's a hassle, is those 2 bushels worth it? Like, can you take that same energy or even half of that energy and stress and throw it to something else that's going to yield you 10 bushel or 15 bushel? So that's where my mind has been easily the last month, is the mindset of bushels per acre versus cost per acre, or price per acre, which bushels is cost, but price. So instead of, that it's $40 an acre, no, it's 12 bushels an acre, going back to the example on my seed side. But then also in the 2 to 3 year plan. So, we don't know what prices are going to be for sure in 6 months, a year, let alone 2 or 3 years. But I had this discussion with a grower on their edible bean crop, and they're so frustrated with the weed control, and they have massive water hemp issues out there, going back to a previous video I had done on what are we going to do to think outside the box. But I challenged him. I said, you guys, you love your edibles because you have that premium versus soybeans or corn in this current marketplace that we're in, but are you considering that you had how many thousands of plants of weeds that you did not get killed because you're so limited on your herbicide program? That what is your herbicide for the next 3 to 4 years, herbicide program for the next 3 to 4 years going to have to look like to take care of that? The old wives' tale or saying of 1 year of weeds is 7 years of seeds. Like, do we start looking at that premium from those edible beans in 2020 needs to be accounted and used towards the weed pressure and the herbicide program that you have to have for the next at minimum the next 3 to 4 years. So it starts coming down to, is that edible bean crop worth the hassle? Is it worth the premium? And that goes to, we need to be planning 2 and 3 years out and forecasting and thinking ahead, because and I know Mother Nature, you can come at me with all those things, but price per bushel and 2 to 3 years out is my challenge for growers here as we're coming into harvest season and you're riding the combine, tractor, grain cart, truck, trailer, whatever it is that you're doing. And asking those questions of your input suppliers and how they think and what they're thinking. It's going to be interesting times and things that we need to consider. So that's my my thoughts from the front seat of my pickup today on this glorious September 1st. Take care. Thanks for tuning in.